Welcome, everyone. Blessings to everyone. Opening the field, taking a nice deep breath. In this healing, we are focusing on releasing false masks that we wear, projections of self, false identities, performance. This could be very unconscious, so we're bringing this up to meet our true, this word gets thrown around a lot, but our true authentic selves, to express and to truly connect to all parts of life, not just other human beings, but all parts of life, manifested, expressed purpose in terms of where we will go, what we will be doing, the way that it comes through us in our incarnation to be truly aligned with those activities, with those outlets, with those locations, and yes, with those people, with those spirit guides and beings, extending this awareness of self. But we can only really recognize what is truly in resonance with us if we are in resonance with our true, authentic expression. And that can be quite meaningless when we relate it to each other in English that way. It's a very overused sort of phrase. So that's why we're given these interdimensional, multidimensional tools so that we can understand meaning on different planes and dissolve some of these unconscious ideas about ourselves, these fear-based masks, these survival-based masks, really deeply held stuff that's holding us back from enjoying just the day-to-day of our lives, and really exploring avenues of expression that would maybe feel very good to us, that we might not really be allowing ourselves to flow into. If there's anxiety in the field, don't try to quell that. Just bring that right up to the light. If you're noticing embarrassment about yourself or just a lot of confusion, just bringing that up now to be released. Himain ya no yasin chorro kuis tarato sin shaini tayana. Simatro koyasnin shawor kuisi payas noshan. Himayana yana yon doruitam natri. Si shinitria koyasan choruin yam natra. Hi koyasum satra yessa. Shi koyos notruan. Ya yono ruasa. Yano ruyasa. Sham natrayan yon hu kuaoshia. Humna yen satra. Huyana shatra kais. Hina woyi kinimna isia. Sha kunuyen santra yorro kuyesi shimin yandro aptusu shin sayakin dorroki sin sorro itarayas isatiash akuru itayana himayana inara urukuyes dareki hiapaoshi sindria tuyo korukuyes sandria tayan yamoto yotokua shimisani torrukuyam nitri san Siama uripayataya ka ushabatakaya yotokuasani yamatu korrukinindriatasan shatru soporrukuin sikiayanatrut yamas urrukuyesantraisi shawurru siasarruruinimatra. Samishini kinandraya socorrucui, hi kayastotruais nadrihit, himayosum socorru kinandratus, shipia sinsi kinindratisi, sitara corrucui natra, hiavuruitia, hiriaurukuyana matruat, yam shikia, hiniam nasun shin satritis, siotorui. Hai kionoyona, yam nosum shamata, Tikayas yopshoruk, himatrayas nusumsaki, hitauribuoyashnik tayanat, yokorroi, hiayasuruinia, hikayatiti, making more space for that self to really emerge. I say this in every video, but this idea of not being able to serve two masters, not being able to see from two different thought systems at once, from split identity, hitayosotoa, and where we live in form, that sort of energetic structure seems to take place, right? Take up space. So in our mind, in our conception of what we are here, we do make space by releasing these false projections, these false identities, these masks, very, very ancient. Kibaor kushibitiana yono toamat himayo sumsoro kuiti ki yato kiana ya turkuyen satruit hindri kyoto soto shamatra hinindruya to sokoriat yorukuruindit yom norukinian disin sitriat yosum sawoshibiria tosum satru hikiana yana wurum nitrin siatorukuru hiriat orukuitit sin shikirition sandroa siam satruhua shiasoruhitia simia sokoyashikia siam dayakinia himiana orukinia hianatriasiakia himayas natruya sanchikiria hikia yatiakia ya moruiti himian shorukitia hian satriatiasaki Sianorukinias, sinshikiniandroruiti sikia, opening that chest, hi kayastorukuiti, hi kiamaya toru, hiara tusuko, shikindatuko, himiatukua, shoruhutu, shiamnatra, hyoruikini. Yantiko yotusum satru, himayosham saki hatoso, yatokua, himayanayo toa, shitriati singiria torukua, baya sunsokoa shi, sinsikinindaria sopoa, shinitriato siokoi, hi koyakorro, hinyatosum sakiri tish, sinsakinindria sum socorro, hi kayasansiata, hi kayasnatri, hinaini andratos. There's also very much the feeling that it is exhausting to carry these masks around. It's exhausting to try to move around in such density of layers and performance. And you know, in this space, in this day and age, especially on the internet, there is very little room for being yourself, and yet the message is always self-love and to just be yourself, but nobody's being themselves on the internet, you know, and it's something that I have absolutely struggled with. You know, my day-to-day self is as much as I want it to be this, you know, lotus flower goddess. I'm from New Jersey. You know, like I have I don't have a regular life. I'm not trying to say that I have a regular life because I don't, but I relate to things from my ego the way that other people do too. And I have opinions about culture, and I have, you know, thoughts about the way the world is and all of the projections of the dream. You know, it's what I want so much to bring through is this lotus flower goddess that's just floating on a cloud, but that's a dream of not having to be fully embodied, and we are meant to be embodied here, or else we wouldn't be here, because nothing happens by accident. So really just letting yourself kind of be yourself, even if that's like messy and you're not always proud of it, or you think it doesn't follow some kind of script of what you want to be or what role you want to play and what you think goes along with that role. That's not interesting. It flattens. It flattens and it sucks the life out of you. Hikia tokorukin satrua sinchikim datos shindria torui kiara korui samshakiri. I'm not saying goddesses can't be from New Jersey. God bless everyone from New Jersey. Kia tayasikia, tisikiashi, hyontoko arraisian sotruiti seisa, shorrukunam nandriatia koyapa, shieptorukinian sikiriki, shikiayas no sonsotiam nato ikiatayanit, hi kianayan shorrukiriatis, sitriatisian shorru, hiriavurum natratisaka, shokorui samsatru, yonotuapayashini triatik, hi korruitikia, yarotisiana. Shandayas notroa. Sikiariandroam nisikiritish. And really, it's a message of letting that sort of, like, what stays and what goes, kind of. Like, what stays of our personality selves as we know ourselves, and what is released as an identity based in fear. And how does that change when we come in contact with and kind of merge our awareness of this more expanded beingness, this plasmic solar consciousness, is really as I see it, this more expanded form. You know, we don't just snap our fingers and be different. This really is about kind of like, we tweak, we trial and error. We as certain pieces of the code are revealed, as certain things are shed, other things come into light. You know, we live in linear time. And so in spirit vision, we can kind of zoom out and see. But even from here, we can't see the whole plan. So really, just like being at more ease with yourself and being at more ease with the way that the sort of journey is going, and just a message of just being entirely less hard on yourself and entirely less sort of busy, like trying to do or find different ways of doing, or just like putting so much pressure on yourself about how this is going to come through, or how I'm supposed to share this, or what I'm supposed to be doing. And just like, it takes a lot of practice to do this, to be in stillness. I don't always do this very well. It takes an incredible amount of practice to do this. This sort of priestess path or mystic path is not easy, and it's certainly not always fun. But to be in the stillness enough to sort of be in a pause long enough to hear, to listen, and to understand that that might not be like, first you do A, and then you go to B, and then you meet C, and then you work on this thing, and then it's, you know, famous or whatever. Like, it's not really, the guidance is probably not even going to really sound like that. Like, it's Yaya snorro konayata, for lack of a better word. Shiki borrokuidi sinzikinindriatos orruikinim dadaisikia. Shitriatisia soto. Himaya shonotoa. Kinatrorukinian sitriti shikiti sinzikiri kayas nitri. It's like, don't pick yourself apart in judgment. That really like loops, it keeps you trapped. And it's not fun. And it muddles the frequency of what you're emitting. And it makes it harder to match up with like actually joyful experience. Not in terms of like missing out on something that's meant for you, but just the day-to-day experience of your life, which is important. That is, I think, something we often lose sight of in people ask about greater purpose, or, you know, what am I meant to be doing in this incarnation, or how am I supposed to share this for the benefit of other people, or many of the other questions that we ask ourselves and ask spirit and ask our guides and ask God. And I feel like the answer from spirit is really, you're asking kind of the wrong questions, you know, like that kind of big picture stuff I do think is planned. We co-create it. And it's written in the code because the code is complete. And free will does not negate free will, because we have free will at all dimensional levels, and you are everywhere in every dimension, and you do co-create the plan for your life, even though you don't remember it. That was still you doing it. So the things that are meant to be will be. And the way that you get there in the most expansion and the most ease is through the piece of your individual day, like moments. Like, it's the piece of being every day, every moment when you wake up. I'm not saying you're going to feel good every single moment all the time. This is a difficult path to walk because it sheds you of everything. You have to look at everything and shed it and let it go. And you have to look at it, and that's hard. But, you know, letting it pass more, not picking apart that process as much as we tend to. It's really just about letting yourself be at more ease during the day, and not being so hyper focused on asking spirit what you're supposed to be doing, and just letting yourself sort of be, because you need to give yourself the space to be, so you can actually figure out. You don't really figure it out. It kind of just like continuously dawns from within you, like what that authentic being is, and you'll know when you're not doing it, because it won't feel right. There's going to be something that you're like, this is kind of right, or the physical container of this is right, but I'm not quite approaching this in the way that I could be to be the most fulfilled. And it's nothing to freak out about, because the answers are always given. The answers are eternally given. Your inner being is yourself that knows, is one with the Holy Spirit, and you're never without that. That's always available to you. It's really, when we ask, what do we do? The answer to that is almost always be quiet. Stop asking. That's so hard for us. Kidayatoroko isni, triatosum socorroco ayat, yon shikirion, imianoroko yestatriatos, oroko yasashit, kimiandroaptos soshit, ikinindroam nindriatas, shitriatoyak, yandroat, hjorokot. So just calm down. Don't hurt yourself with your thoughts. That came through a couple days ago in a video also. Don't hurt yourself with your thoughts. Don't believe lies of the ego about yourself, these false identity masks. When they come up, you see yourself believing yourself from them. Like, that's your identity. I believe that's what I am. Just let yourself put it down. Let yourself take it off. And because your true self is a formless, eternal beingness, your true self is not of incarnation at all, but your authentic essence is meant to come through this embodiment. But you can't force that, and you cannot demand certain answers in certain times and expect to receive them if you are not at a place or a bandwidth that you could actually receive it, because you're freaking yourself out about, insecurity and instability and all kinds of different things. Like, get yourself back to a baseline so that you could really be in enjoyment and just trust, because the trust comes from your direct relationship with God, source creator. So you're not going to develop that by constantly reaching from an unhealed state. Kia tokorru kinindria tisi kiti shi, sinsatru orru kinindria tosum saka, shinsakorru kitiatruyam natritis iashikianiam natri sitoyoko orru, hitayosum sokorru kitit, hikias iashnindria tosos shimisaurru itiata, hindiatraisiki. Amen. I think we're going to end it here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're interested in working together, you can check out all the links below. You can be a member of the channel. Thank you to everyone who is a member of the channel, and I will see you next time.